بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are still reflecting on some of the inspiring stories from the book of Sheikh Al-Fattah Abu Ghudda rahimahullah ta'ala regarding the efforts which the knowledge seekers used to put in order to seek this very sacred knowledge, this important knowledge which makes us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I've chosen for you a couple of stories for today, inshallah, to share with you. But before that, I'd like first to start with the hadith, which we mentioned many times, but just to refresh our memory about it. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the hadith, he mentioned, من سلك طريقا يطلب فيه علما سلك الله به طريقا إلى الجنة. So whoever is seeking a path for knowledge, Allah will ease for him a path for Jannah. And the rest of the hadith, إن الملائكة لتضع أجنحتها لطالب العلم رضا بما يطلب. And the angels will lay down their wings for the knowledge seekers in approval of what he's doing. And the hadith goes on as well to say that وإن الملائكة وإنه ليستغفر لطالب العلم من في السماء ومن في الأرض حتى الحوت في البحر. And the angels will seek forgiveness for the knowledge seekers. Even the animals and the whale or the fish in the sea will seek forgiveness for the knowledge seeker. And there are plenty of narrations, as we mentioned earlier in the previous circles, which talks about the importance of seeking knowledge and the virtues of seeking knowledge. And we always remind ourselves why. Why is it so important? Why the emphasis on the knowledge is so huge in the Quran, in the Sunnah? Because in order to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, we need knowledge. And this is why the scholars used to say, Man arada dunya fa'alayhi bil-ilm. Whoever wants the dunya, he has to have knowledge. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ فَعَلَيْهِ بِالْعِلْمِ. And whoever seeks the akhirah, he has to seek knowledge. You can't master the dunya without knowledge. And you can't get to the akhirah without knowledge. And the third statement from the scholars, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْإِثْنَيْنِ مَعًا فَعَلَيْهِ بِالْعِلْمِ. And whoever wants both dunya and akhirah, so he has to seek knowledge. So knowledge it's a win-win situation. But in these stories which we came across and which we read, it shows us how they overcome the obstacles which they face. It's not an easy ride. If you want to master anything, it's not an easy ride. So you need to have patience, perseverance, and above all, a purpose. Why you are doing this in the first place. You want status? We will get status. You want Allah's pleasure? Inshallah, you will get Allah's pleasure. But you need to have ikhlas. You want forgiveness? Inshallah, you will get forgiveness. You want to save yourself from hellfire because you are seeking this knowledge for that very purpose, protection, you will get there, inshallah. So we need purpose, and ikhlas is the key word. So no matter how many difficulties you face, if you have purpose, you know why you are seeking this knowledge. We don't worship knowledge, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but this knowledge is our path to Allah. This is why in Surah Taha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا, and say, Allah, increase me in knowledge. Increase me in knowledge, increase me in closeness to you, increase me in understanding. The Prophet ﷺ, as in the Sahih, he says, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah wishes good for, He gives them understanding of the deen. But as we've mentioned as well many times, this understanding will not be parachuted on us. We need to give efforts. We need to understand that it is important to get the understanding of the deen. If we didn't get the understanding, we have the wrong direction. We have the wrong application. We make people shun away from Islam because of our own practices, because we got it wrong and we passed on the knowledge in the wrong way, and we delivered the message in the wrong way. So people, instead of embracing Islam, they will curse Islam. And this is actually what's happening in many scenarios, unfortunately. The scenarios of Bin Laden, al-Qaeda, and the scenarios of ISIS, MISIS, and these kind of things, just they got it wrong. They got the wrong end. So this is why then we need to have the right people seeking the knowledge with the right intention. You might have people as well have plenty of the right knowledge, but unfortunately they are riding the waves, i.e. just taking this as a bridge for dunya, not taking this knowledge for the akhirah. As I mentioned earlier, that they want a status and they got a status. He is the mufti of the government. He is the consultant or the advisor of the emir or the prime minister, or I don't know what. If this is your aim, you will get it. But if your aim is to seek Allah's pleasure, to deliver the Prophet's message to the people, then it's a different story. And this is what we are after, inshallah. All of us are after the prophetic message, and we are after the prophetic approach, inshallah ta'ala. So no wonder how many obstacles might come across that knowledge seeker in his journey, in her journey. As long as we have ikhlas, then these obstacles will be removed, inshallah ta'ala. And from these obstacles, which the Sheikh talks about in his book, because he called it Safahat min Sabr al-Ulama. So it's literally talking about some pages from the stories of the predecessors, the scholars of the Ummah, and their patience, sabr. So big word, the sabr, it's in his title, sabr. So sabr for many things. So it's not then with no obstacles, with no difficulties. It has, as anything in life. So one of these things, he mentioned a story here of 4 of the top scholars. And it's the story of Imam al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi mentioned in his book, Tarikh Baghdad. As well, Imam al-Hafiz al-Zahabi mentioned in Tazkirat al-Huffaz. And al-Ruyani mentioned in Tabaqat al-Shafi'iyya as well. It's about 4 top scholars in the 3rd century Hijri, 4. And the 4 of them called Muhammad. So the first one is Muhammad bin Jarir al-Tabari, the great Imam. The Imam al-Tabari, when you say Imam al-Tabari, everyone knows who's al-Tabari. So Imam al-Tabari, the great Imam, rahimahullah. This is the first one, Muhammad bin Jarir al-Tabari. The second one, Muhammad bin Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah. Ibn Khuzaymah as well, a great muhaddith. Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, he is a great mufassir and great scholar, rahimahullah. And each one of these four, which I'll mention, inshallah, he's an authority by himself. So the second one is Muhammad bin Ishaq bin Khuzaymah, Ibn Khuzaymah, the great scholar of hadith. And the third one is Muhammad bin Nasr al-Marwazi. Muhammad bin Nasr al-Marwazi, he's a great faqih as well. So top level, we are talking about very top level of scholars. And Muhammad bin Harun al-Ruyani. Muhammad bin Harun al-Ruyani, whom the Subki in his book Tabaqat al-Shafi'iyya mentioned. So al-Ruyani is one of the great Shafi'i scholars. So these four Muhammads, and we call in Arabic al-Muhammadun. Al-Muhammadun is the plural of Muhammad. And by the way, some Orientalists call the Muslims al-Muhammadiyun, Muhammadanism. But one of their writings, they call us al-Muhammadun, i.e. the followers of Muhammad. Which is wrong, actually. We are not Muhammadun, we are Muslimun. So it's the wrong title, although we follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these four scholars, Imam al-Tabari, Ibn Khuzaymah, al-Marwazi, and al-Ruyani, it happened to be that they were in Egypt. Around 256, as the Sheikh Abdul Fattah extracted this or deduced this from his readings, from these stories in different books. And you don't want to know how did he get this. It's a long story, but anyway, he summarized it in the footnotes. So he's probably saying that it's in 256 Hijri. They met together, the four of them, they met together. And the story says, فَأَرْمَلُوا وَافْتَقَرُوا وَلَمْ يَبْقَ عِنْدَهُمْ مَا يَقُوتُهُم وَأَضَرَّ بِهِمُ الْجُوعُ. So they were broken, completely broken, penniless. And they were so hungry and they have nothing to eat. These four great imams. Yes? فاجتمعوا ليلة في منزل كانوا يأوون إليه يكتبون فيه الحديث. So they gathered together in a house, which they used to meet in that very house, and they would write the hadith in that house. So all of them are scholars and scholars of hadith and different sciences. Yeah, so they would write the hadith, and because they are hungry and they have nothing to sell, nothing to buy, nothing to eat, and they said, okay, that's too much. We've been suffering from this for a while. So let's do casting lots, which we say in Arabic, qur'a, like you do sometimes with the bottle. You twist it, and then whoever got the direction, the bottle goes in his direction, he'll do this or he'll do that. So they've cast the lots, and then it happened that Ibn Khuzaymah, he was the chosen one to do the task. And what is the task? Guess what? The task is he will go and find some food for them. He should go and beg some food, knock on someone's door. It's his problem. We don't have food, we are hungry, and we are about to die out of hunger, and this is your mission. Ibn Khuzaymah, go, this is your task. Ibn Khuzaymah, he said, okay, give me some time, I want to pray 2 rakahs. And what are these 2 rakahs? He said he prayed istikhara. He said, I can't do this, what's that? This is not good. I can't go and beg for food. I will not do this. And he prayed istikhara 2 rakahs. And he prolonged the salah. and prolong the dua and prolong the supplications to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose the gates of everything is his hand subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fountain of rizq is in Allah's hand. The treasures is in Allah's hand. And then whilst he was praying, they have heard some noises outside the house. Horses passing by and servants and guards, and it's unusual. This is not what we used to have every day. It's a quiet place and no one visits us and no one come near us. What's that? So they went to the door. They did find that Ibn Tolon, he was the ruler of Egypt. So Ibn Tolon, rahimahullah, sent his servants, his guards, to them. They knocked the door, and then they opened the door and said yes. And then the god, he started calling their names, and he said, "Who's Muhammad bin Nasr?" It means al-Marwazi. He said, "Yes." And he got a bag full of money and he gave it to him. He said, "This is yours." And then he said, "Who's Muhammad bin Jarir?" It means al-Tabari. He said, "Yes." And again, he gave him a similar bag of money. And he said, "Who's Muhammad bin Ishaq bin Khuzaymah?" The one who was praying. Ibn Khuzaymah, the one who was praying, said, "Me." He gave him another bag full of money. And "Who's Muhammad bin Harun?" "Me." Then he gave him another bag. And then they were in shock. What's going on? We never asked for anything. We never mentioned anything to anyone. And then the God said, "Inna al-Amira kana qa'ilan bil-ams." The Amir, Ahmad bin Tolon, Amir, yes. And those who went to Egypt, there's a mosque called Ibn Tolon's mosque. Big, beautiful mosque. Ibn Tolon. So he said Amir was resting yesterday, sleeping. It's the siesta time, قائلا, the قيلولة time. فرأى بالمنام في المنام خيالا يقول له. A person came to him in his dream and he said, إن المحامد طووا كشحهم جياعا. The four Muhammads, they are sleeping hungry. فأنفذ إليكم هذه السورة. So when he woke up, he said, these four names, he memorized the names. And he told the gods, these four names, these are the scholars and they are hungry. So take this money for them. And then he says, وَيُقْسِمُ عَلَيْكُمْ. He asks you by Allah, إِذَا نَفِدَتْ أَن تَبْعَثُوا إِلَيْهِ لِيَزِيدَكُمْ. Whenever it finishes, your money finishes, tell him and he'll give you more. SubhanAllah. You see, when you connect your heart to Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah will provide for you. They do not want to humiliate themselves. They do not want to ask anyone for anything, but they ask the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. In no time, during his Salah, Ibn Khuzaymah, he just get to finish his salah. He never finished his salah. Before he finished his salah, the support, the aid came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yes, they were hungry, they have no money, they have all these kind of troubles and difficulties. But because of their ikhlas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide for them. Because of their sincerity, of their purpose, Allah will provide for them. And the second story which I want to share with you, as well, al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi, in his book, Tariq Baghdad, he narrated that Ahmad bin Salman al-Najjad. Ahmad bin Salman al-Najjad is one of the great muhaddis from the Hanbali school. And he's one of the great fuqaha as well, faqih. So he's narrating that this scholar, Ahmad bin Salman al-Najjad, قال أضقت إضاقة شديدة فمضيت إلى إبراهيم الحربي لأبثه ما أنا فيه. So he's saying that I was in a very tight situation, very difficult situation. I have no money, I have nothing. I have my family and my children, and I have nothing to spend on them. So I went to Ibrahim al-Harbi, one of the great scholars as well. And Ibrahim al-Harbi, we are talking about the 3rd century. He was born 198, passed away 285 Hijri. In Baghdad. He was in Baghdad. So he said, I went to him. So just to tell him what's going on with me. It's just a venting session, going and just telling him, you know, I have this difficulty and so on. And then he said, Ibrahim al-Harbi told him, do not worry, don't have a heavy chest, don't have anything in your heart, even if you have this. Allah's support is just in no time will come to you. And then Ibrahim al-Harbi told him a story. He said, look what happened to me. I was in more difficult scenario than you. And I have my wife and my children, and I have nothing to spend on them. Until my wife said, okay, why don't you sell some of your books? And then we can eat, at least for the children, if not for me, for the children. He said, no, these are my books. I cannot sell these books. These are my legacy. I can't sell this. And would they have this discussion? He said, go and borrow something from your friends or neighbors or something, and we'll, inshallah, pay it back later. And he said, I have a room in my house, which is like, they call it dihliz. Dihliz, it's like a tunnel, dihliz. They used to do these rooms in their houses. So every house, there's sort of like dihliz, like a tunnel. Inside the house, they use it probably for storage, for something like that. So he said, I was sitting there, and it has a door for to the street. And somebody knocked on that door. And I was during the night, by the way. And I said, who is it? He said, one of your neighbors. I said, okay, come in. He said, I won't come in until you turn off your light. Huh? And I turned off my light. I said, come in. Then he went inside and he put something on the floor, and he said, this is a bag of something you can use later. And then, Salaam alaikum, he left. Put on the lights, and what's that? And he said, I don't know what that is, but it seems it's a full, it's like a big grab of food. So I called my wife and said, come. And the wife came and she opened that big wrap. She did find inside this wrap 50 dishes, varieties of dishes, the one which you desire. Something in this sweet, something to eat, something. He's had 50 types of food in that very big, in Arabic we call it sarra, which is a big wrap, and it might be small one as well. And then the thing which he left beside it, it was a big bag of 1,000 dinar. And I said, look at this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent him something to overcome his difficulties, to support him to continue and do the work which he's doing, delivering knowledge, receiving knowledge, disseminating knowledge, writing books and editing books and reviewing books and so on and so forth, spreading the knowledge. And he said as well, once I was in a similar situation. So he has this difficulty in his life, and he said it was Hajj time. So I was sitting in front of my door, and suddenly somebody passed by my door, and he said, "Are you X?" I said, "Yes." He has two big camels, fully loaded with many things. And I said, "Yes." And he said, "These two camels with their loads are yours." I said, "Okay, well, who sent this to me?" He said he made an oath that I shouldn't tell you. So I can't tell you whose that is. But he sent you these two camels with these loads, and he mentioned your name. And I came all the way from long distance to find you and give you these two camels. And there are plenty of other stories like this, plenty. And this is what I see, to be honest with you, the explanation of the hadith in practice. إن الملائكة لا تضع أجنحتها لطالب العلم. The angels will lay down their wings for the knowledge seeker, even for the scholars who are carrying the knowledge. And I can tell you something which we witness as young knowledge seekers in Damascus. I remember once, many times it happened, but this story is still in my mind, fresh. We were penniless, and our family is in Beirut. So between Beirut and Damascus at that time, the journey is around 4 or 5 hours, something like that. Although the distance is not that far, but because of all the complications of the civil war which we have, and roads which are not safe, so the journey will take longer, and the borders and so on. So usually it should be 1.5 hours, maximum 2 hours. So it will take us 5 to 6 hours to go back home. So it was a difficult journey. So we were in Damascus. We have run out of money. We have no money, no nothing. And we have a rent to pay. We have expenses. We have, although it wasn't that much, but yeah, still money to pay. We told no one. We were 3 people at that time. Later we became 5 in the same student accommodation in our terms today, but it was 2 rooms, bare, no nothing in them. So we bought some furniture, some mattresses, not furniture, some mattresses, some duvets and pillows, and that's it. So we went, as usual, to our circles. Since many years, we are doing the same thing, doing the same pattern every day. And this very day, the Sheikh Muhammad, Allah yarhamu, Sheikh Muhammad Sukkar, he's our Sheikh in Quran. So we see him every day after Fajr. Every day, we do recite Quran for him after Fajr. This very day, we've been attending his circle since many years. This very day, the Sheikh said, okay, what do you have after the circle? We said, Sheikh, we have nothing. We go back home, we do some revision and we do some readings, and that's it. He said, okay, come to my house. I invite you to have breakfast with me. Wow, it's a great honor to have a breakfast with the Sheikh. So we went to his house. He has a very beautiful old Arabic house where you go inside and then you have a garden open to the sky. So the house is fully locked from outside. You can't see anything. But when you enter inside, you have big garden open to the sky. You have a pool in the middle with a fountain and trees all over the place. Beautiful house, mashallah. And then you have the rooms around the house, 2 floors sort of, one for summer, the top one for summer, the lower one for winter. So we sat in the garden, which is lovely one. And then he offered us the breakfast, and it was, mashallah, nice breakfast, very nice breakfast, feast of course, sort of. Cut a long story short, we have some discussion, and as well, during our stay in his house, we have a portion of recitation. Recite this. So it wasn't just a feast, it was as well a circle of knowledge. And the Shaykh, mashallah, with his hospitality and generosity and the kindness and the smile on his face, it means the whole dunya is in your hand. After we finished, as I told you, this wasn't the common pattern in our day at all. So this is something new happened. And the Sheikh as well surprised us with something new. He never done this before. And he said, okay, take this envelope. And he distributed 3 envelopes for us. We were 3 people. He gave us 3 envelopes. It never happened before. And out of respect, you don't question anything. You just take it and say, Jazakallah khairan, thank you very much. And that's it. And then we left. We opened these envelopes. We have money inside the envelope. And the Sheikh never gave us money before. How did he know that we are broken and we need money? And it was big money. Big money. It's 500 at that time. Our rent was 300. So he gave us 1,500, 500 each. It will last us probably 2 months or something. And it's just a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, it's nothing to compare with these great scholars, but I can tell you a small experience which we came across. Then whenever you have that right direction and you want to seek Allah's pleasure subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will open the way for you, no matter how many obstacles. Be persistent and cling to his path, and Allah will open the way and facilitate your direction, inshallah ta'ala. So this is, if you want the practical side, although you see obstacles in your life, you come across obstacles in your life, but it cannot defeat you. Allah wants us to go through these obstacles to see, are we into this for fame? Are we into this for titles? Are we into this for, it depends where you are. Yes. So Allah wants us to do it for the right reason, and then He will reward you. Otherwise, people will just, with the first obstacle, they will drop everything and go back to dunya and go back to old habits, stuff, etc. So this is why we see every now and then in the Quran, لَتُبْلَوُنَّ لَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ وَيَبْتَلِيَكُمْ. So in different verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the term ibtila, that He will test you. So we have different tests. So even if you are doing the right thing, you will be tested. You are doing the wrong thing, you will be tested. You are in between, you will be tested. There is no free test, or no one will be free from any test. We are tested all the time. So we need to have the right intention. We need to have the right direction. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us always to see through the test and not to fail the test, because the test itself is a level for, or a stepping stone for a different level. So unless we get it right, we understand why we are here, we will fail and fail and fail. So we ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to be always among those who are doing what pleases Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll open the floor for your questions or any comment if you have.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Aisha.
Jazakumullah khairan again for a very, what can I say, fairy tale delivery of these amazing people, mashallah, and yourself. What I wanted
Not
to
amazing, no. They are the amazing.
mashallah. But what I was going to ask you, which you kind of answered, was why did Allah make them go through this hardship, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and was it partly the fact that it made them realize their dependence on Him? So by removing everything from them, bringing them down to their absolutely rock bottom, and then to lift them up is a different experience than never to have fallen to that need and desperation.
It has if you want, two parts. The first part is about to free your heart from any connection to the dunya. Deal with the dunya, work in the dunya, seek the dunya with the right intention, fine. But it should not reside in your heart. You shouldn't have the dunya in your heart, or the aim is the dunya. This is one side. So the other side is about polishing the quality and testing the quality. So you discover yourself through these tests which you have. You discover the level of your patience, if you have any, or you have none, or you have something you need to work on it. And as well, it shows you the gaps in your character, these tests. And Allah wants us to improve ourselves. So unless you know that you have something wrong, you are not bothered. Even when you know that you have something wrong, some people are not bothered even to do anything to change, to improve themselves. So yes, this is part of it, because again, I connect you to the hadith which we mentioned many times. The Prophet ﷺ said, al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. So in this particular direction, the scholars are the heirs of the prophets. So if they are the heirs of the prophets, they have to be tested, they have to be qualified to carry this mission, to carry this message, or they are not worthy of carrying this message. And we see the prophets and messengers suffered from difficulties. The Prophet himself, alayhi salatu wassalam, as I told you probably on Tuesday in the story of Abu Talha, he suffered hunger many times, alayhi salatu wassalam. So Abu Talha sent some food to the Prophet because he recognized the weakness of the voice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said to his wife, I sense this weakness in his voice probably because he's hungry, alayhi salatu wassalam, and he's not asking. And he won't, alayhi salatu wassalam. So he sent some food for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was tested, alayhi salatu wassalam, with that as well. So it's an ongoing test. And al-ulama warasatul anbiya, it's a mission, heavy mission. As Allah stated, Inna sanulqi alayka qawlan thaqila. We are going to send upon you a heavy weight. Qawlan thaqila, heavy weight. And the heavy weight is the message. It's the Quran, how to take it and apply it and disseminate it and practice it. This is the test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we read these stories, it's just a drop in the ocean of the test of the prophets and messengers. And it's ongoing. You have tests sometimes in hunger, you have sometimes tests in financials, you have some tests in status, and you name it. So different tests will go through. Farhana, yes. You can unmute yourself, Farhana.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaykum assalam. You are walking in the park, Farhana?
No, I'm walking near my home on the road because I had no exercise for the day. Jazakallah for that. My question is, test is not like a signal of whether what you're doing is being accepted or not. So how do we know if we are on the path of knowledge seeking and knowledge, that our effort is actually being accepted and we are moving forward? Because otherwise, I speak for myself, one can feel like you are still in the process. But how does one know that you are actually moving forward and that it's being accepted, more importantly?
You are asking two questions here.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. So the first one, how do we know that we are moving forward? The second one, how do we know that we are accepted or we've been accepted? Moving forward question is sort of easy to recognize. As anything, you do the test to see which level you are. Where were you last year? Where were you now? Where are you tomorrow, for instance? So you feel you are moving forward, i.e. you've learned something more, you've practiced something more, you are working on yourself to do better, then it's an indication that you are moving forward. Otherwise, you used to memorize 20 surahs and now you just have in your memory 10 surahs. It's obvious that you are not moving forward. You used to attend 4 circles per month or 2 per week, and now you are only attending 1. It doesn't take rocket science for somebody to recognize that it's not moving forward. And my understanding to some verses in the Quran is much better now than yesterday. Okay, it's an indication that, alhamdulillah, you read Fatiha, you understand it, you read some short surahs, you understand. Okay, it means I'm improving. The application of some hadith, some Islamic concepts is clearer to me now, how to connect the dots together. Okay, it's an indication that I'm moving forward. Sometimes you can't see big leaps in your knowledge, but in fact, if you were to compare it with 10 years back, 10 years after, You can see the difference. If you can't see any different, then there's definitely something wrong. And you need to set your targets and review your journey. And this is, in short, number one. Number two, how do you know that we've been accepted? Acceptance is in Allah's hands, subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot guarantee acceptance. This is why you see in the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, he is one of the ulul azm, the prophets and messengers of the resolute ones. In his dua, he said, ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم in Surah al-Baqarah. وإذ يرفع إبراهيم القواعد من البيت وإسماعيل ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. So he made this dua, asking Allah for qabul, for acceptance, because you never know. He established the house, he built the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. Yes, and with that, he's not sure that Allah accepted this from him. So he's asking Allah for acceptance, and this is what we should be doing all the time. ربنا تقبل منا. We ask Allah for qabul. This is on one side. On the other side, we need to follow the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. So doing things in line with his guidance, with his hadi, al-hadi al-nabawi, the prophetic guidance. If it's in line with the prophetic guidance, inshallah, hopefully it's accepted. If it's not, then don't bother. Don't bother. Definitely it's not accepted. So it has to be in line with the prophetic guidance, and we keep making dua and asking Allah Azza wa Jal to purify our intention and make our actions purely for His sake. By doing that, inshallah, hopefully we will be accepted. Please. Any other question? And by the way, sometimes these tests are an indication that you are on the right path. Otherwise, if you have no test, nothing, if it's very smooth ride and no tests, and then you should be more afraid than when you have tests. It's something very serious sometimes. I'm not saying you should ask for tests from Allah. No, definitely don't ask for that. But if you are going through some tests, it's an indication that you are on the right path, inshallah ta'ala. Because Allah will test those whom He loves, to make them better, to increase their reward, to delete their sins, to elevate their status, and all these kind of things. And to give them more experience, to give them more wisdom, and to bring them as well closer to Him. Because as usual, sometimes we won't get closer to Allah until we are in a difficulty. And this difficulty, although it's bitter, but the end result of it, it made us closer to Allah. So is it something bad or good? It's something good. If you were to see through this, then yes, it gives you more closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these journeys and tests which we came across, it improves us. It gives us strength.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh. And I think probably it's useful to remember that even though Allah sends us tests, He sends the solutions with them, if we can figure them out.
Yes, with every lock, there's the key. So it's that the test is like the lock, and the solution is the key. Allah provides the keys, and you need to find it. And without doubt, it's more supplications and to review what the scenario is, it's very helpful to see why I'm in this very scenario. And this test might be because I've done something wrong, or because nothing wrong, but Allah wants to test me to make me better, wants to get me through this to something which I trust is something useful for me. And you can get through this, inshallah ta'ala. And I hope, bismillah, this calamity, the pandemic which we have, it's this kind of test. Allah wants us to get through this stronger and better and closer to Him, inshallah ta'ala.
جزاكم الله خيرا شيخ عباس.
Inshallah, we can finish with dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. Ya Allah, give us sincerity and ikhlas, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Arham ar-Rahimin, enable us to understand the tests and the tribulations which we go through, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Enable us to get the keys for these problems, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Provide us with the halal and bless our time and our life and our families and our offsprings, and keep us, Ya Rabbal Alameen, on the straight path. Ya Allah, remove kibr and arrogance from our hearts. Protect us from our ego, Ya Allah. Protect us from the whispers of the shaitan. Protect us from the temptations of the dunya and the delusion of the shaitan, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Arham ar-Rahimeen, keep us on the straight path. Enable us to carry the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to disseminate it in the way that pleases you, Ya Allah. Ya Arham ar-Rahimeen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, teach us the beneficial knowledge and benefit us from what we have learned, Ya Allah. Ya Arham ar-Rahimeen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Purify our hearts, purify our intentions, purify our actions. Make us amongst those whom you love, Ya Rabbal Alameen. People of taqwa, people of dhikr and remembrance, people of ikhlas and sincerity, Ya Arham ar-Rahimeen. Forgive our sins, our mistakes, our shortcomings. Forgive our parents, our teachers, our shuyukh, our spouses, our offsprings, our loved ones. صلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.